Mr. Anupam Malik. So these are the two reasons. That's why people are more in number. And today we will deliberate on this highly relevant and evolving subject, new labor code along with notified center rules, implementation and industry preparedness. Friends, as you are aware that when the labor code was in the process, then we invited Mr. Anupam Malik because he was a part and parcel of so many committees and he has suggested on various aspects. The labor law looks very easy, but when you go beyond this, you will realize that so many things, so many social factors, so many people involved in this, and that is life and parcel is there, and then political issue also. So this labor reform is not only about wages and compliances. It is about productivity, dignity, competitiveness, and India's next growth cycle. That we have to understand that part, because today, if I see the investor who is investing money in India, in any company, they see competitiveness, that how much you are competitive with Taiwan, with Bangladesh, with Indonesia, or other Vietnam also. So their labor cost is less. So they also on this part. So always we have this in mind that labor cost should be less. That is the winning formula. Today we will demolish that point also with Anupam's intervention. Now, friends, India has undertaken one of the most significant labor law reforms in recent decades through the consolidation of numerous labor legislation into four comprehensive labor Code of Wages Act, Code of Wage 2019, Industrial Relation Code 2020, Occupational Safety, Health and Working Condition Code 2020, and Code of Social Security 2020. Now, recently, central government has notified the following final central rule on 8th May 2026. And this webinar we are organizing to give employee, HR leader, legal professional, compliance officer, and business decision maker with practical understanding of the key changes introduced under the labor code and their likely impact on business. Now, earlier the labor code was there, but the rules was not there. So when we organized last program, then so many points were open-ended, and we were discussing how it can be. So we were waiting for labor code's rules also. Now rules are there. So today's session, we will focus on change made in final rules, implementation challenges, payroll implementation, employment practice, social security coverage, industrial relation management, and the preparedness measure industry should adopt before the code become operational 100%. So today we want to discuss in the webinar overview of the four new labor code and its notified central rules, impact and compensation and payroll structure, key changes affecting employee, employer and HR practices, implementation challenge and transitional issue, and industry preparedness and best practices, what they should do. So friend, when I was studying, then that particular time, there were 29 laws and Payment of Wages Act, Gratuity Act, Bonus Act. And I remember we were making a consolidated chart on employer-employee definition and the wage definition, salary definition, and this is different in all laws. And our entire struggle was there that what is the difference. So when we were not able to understand the difference, we do the rectification and writing in this, because very confusing. Now they have tried to remove this. So I hope that the new generation will get benefit, which we have not, and they will understand faster. And today also we will do analysis on a different footing. So first, I will extend a very warm welcome to all my participants and my learned panelists for today's. None other than Mr. Anupam Malik. He is a partner and head people services corporate professional. Mr. Malik is a former additional labor commissioner of Haryana and also the member of core committee of drafting of new labor code and labor law. Initially it was law, then code. Post his superannuation, he has been actively advising industry on strategic HR restructuring. He is known for successful handling of complex industrial relation situation in industry, and he is one of the most brilliant uh, professional in this area who has knowledge of the subject. And I remember we have done 264 webinar. Today is 265th webinar, and our webinar which has received highest number of questions, that was 300 questions, that was in labor law when the new labor law implementation or discussion is started, and that time Mr. Malik single-handedly gave answer of these 300 questions during that period uh, without any iota of repetition or understanding of anything. So this is the beauty of sir. Sir, I welcome for this program, and the way you have always doing something great for the industry, something great for the professional. We will get your wisdom today also. Then we have Nitesh Ladwal, Associate Partner Corporate Professional Compliance, and Nitesh looks after compliance and including the labor law work. I welcome Nitesh. So friends, before I move forward and give my initial presentation on this subject, because this is my presentation is only totally different issue, because when this labor and industrial courts issue was coming, then the question was coming, the cost of industry is going up because Infosys, TCS, everybody, there was Economic Times headline that these companies are restructuring and their cost of production has gone and market price has also gone down because of this reason. So I was just surprising that why people are taking in a very myopic view on this issue. Why not we should understand that if something is going up and some money is going in the hands of your employee, ultimately it is coming to the industry in the economy also. So before my giving my points, I just want to release our new labor and industrial code book by the hands of Mr. Malik. I will request Malik sir to inaugurate digitally. So this is written by Malik sir, Nitesh, and Shivam Singhal. Shivam, can you just release this in the hands of sir? And can you, Shivam, explain about this book and
Yes, sir.
its a content and its uniqueness?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. So we are coming out with this our new publication on compendium on the labor and industrial codes along with the notified center rules 2026. So what is the USP of this book? So labor codes have four labor codes, which each labor code is presented along with relevant rules of the central rules. Apart from that, forms and format. If any notification has come out by the Ministry of Labor, that notification is also given there. Legislative clause and referred provision of other laws. So this is the demo of a section of Wage Act. So other USP of this book is that for easy understanding of each labor code, we have given at the beginning of each division legislative intent of and objective of each labor code, comparative analysis between old law and new labor code, frequently asked questions, enforcement status of each section of each labor code, and list of acts and rules which has been repealed after enforcement of this new labor. So other key features also that uh, labor code is divided into four division. Uh, so reader may directly go to any division with the help of rainfall report on the 4H of the book. So this is very unique feature of this book. You have not no to go to the index of the book. You can directly reach to that division. Apart from that, notified minimum wages for various states across India, we have also given in this book. So this book is in now printing stage, and this book will be in market by Monday or Tuesday. And when this come in the market, you can get a additional discount of 10% after putting that open code CPNSC. We will mail this also to all our participants and registered participants who has registered for this webinar. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shivam. Thank you very much. Before I'm giving a few slides presentation, I just want to inform our next webinar of 266 webinar that on next Friday at 5th June will be on CCI enforcement trends, what every corporate needs to know. And I just want to share with everyone a very sad news also. We have invited for the next webinar Mr. Dhanendra Kumar. He was the first CCI chairman. And yesterday, day for yesterday night, there was an accident in his house, or AC was burst, and he died because of suffocation in the hospital. So I request everyone to pray for his family and the soul, who was very, very nice person, and भगवान उनको अपने पास बुला के शांति दे. This is one very sad news which I wanted to share with you. And really, Shivam has talked to him 2-3 days back, I think 3 days back, and he confirmed that yes, 5th June, he will participate. So friends, this is this is the life. If you have to come, you have to go, but people should not go like this. This is a very serious thing. Okay. Now the journey should move on, and the things should continue. Shivam, can you just open my presentation? Friends, I'm giving this total different point. The Malik sir and Nitesh will give about the law, how and why. I'm just covering about this, the macro view of architecting India's modern workforce. So my focus is that so many laws, 29 law was there, it has merged into 4. And what is the strategic implementation of 4 labor code for Indian industry, and what people are criticizing, whether it's criticism is right or not, and what India should do. Go back, Shivam, go back. So my first point is labor reform is not only about the wages and compliance. It is about productivity, dignity, competitiveness, and India's next growth cycle. Now, these are the changes. Other old law we see, low cost labor, now the productivity labor is required. Informal employment, now formal workforce is required. Inspector driven compliances, we have a digital data driven compliances that is mentioned there. Fragmented welfare, now it is a portal, social security portal is there where everything is there. Dispute heavy relation, where labor case were going on 10 years, 20 years, and that time labor is also, that employees also died, and nobody is getting something. In place of this, the structured industrial relation has taken place. So friend, India's future cannot be built only on cheap labor that everybody is understanding, and the market is also, and the foreign investors also. It must be built on skilled, secure, and productivity labor. So this is the main crux, in my opinion, should be there. Next point is the macroeconomic. Now, what will be the impact? The question is that if money paid to labor is not lost to the economy, to the economy, it is relating to demand, consumption, and productivity enhancement. So money paid to labor is not lost to the economy. That is the main concept. So higher wages and security, formalization of workers, increased household confidence. That is another part, because workers' dignity and peace will also go up because he is getting sufficient amount. And I'll tell you, Malik sir, we have seen so many chowkidars. They are working in various places. They are doing night duty, but they are sleeping. Sometimes we criticize them, we datify them. but actual position is they are doing two jobs. They are doing that job also, and they are in the morning also they are doing jobs. Because of their money, they are not getting sufficient amount of this. So if a person is getting sufficient amount, he will not go to work for 2-3 places. It will give dignity also, peace and welfare also. Rising consumption demand. Now, if your salary is more, you will spend more. So spending capacity unlock will take place, and the market expansion, industrial growth will take place, because global investor confidence will also increase. So in a way, it is a win-win for economy. So key insight is better wage and social security do not merely increase company costs, they act as an economic multiplier. No doubt, it will be a cost to the company immediately, but ultimately it is a beneficiary for the economy. Next is, if I see what industry will gain. Shivam, next. In the entire process, the global investor confidence and manufacturing hub will take place. Number one, simplicity. Unified wages definition, simplified compliance architect, predictable digital and records structured industrial relation, flexibility, greater agility through fixed term employment, governance, better conductor oversight, and clear safety obligation that will take place. So global investors require predictability. They don't require something fragmented thing. And you have seen that today big companies, when they are taking manufacturing services in India, they do the social audit. They want to see no child labor, nothing wrong practices. You are paying minimum wages. All these things are there. And the biggest point is that in India, we are working on the minimum wages concept. We are not working out the sufficient wages work concept, which Malik sir will explain to us. Next point. Now, the human capital upgradation, what advantage the labor will get? They will get wider wage protection and timely payment, because that's a part of the rules now, and penalty system also. You will get mandatory letter, appointment letter, which was not there. Expanding social security coverage, that is also taking gig platform worker recognition is there. Enhanced work safety, grievances redressal is faster, and overtime protection is there, that you cannot say you do work. We have seen airlines strike, the strike of people. They are saying it is too much pressure on work. So same thing is here also. Labor law is ultimately about human dignity, not merely registration, register and returns. That is the most important thing we should understand. Now, question is, you are talking on the industry advantage, you are talking on the labor advantage. What is the balancing act of reforms? Next. So, balancing act is that if cost increasing, that is inevitable. The strategic response is not oppose reforms, but drastically increase workforce productivity. That is the main point. If you talk that my cost is increasing, it is not sufficiently answering issue. Your cost is increasing, but simultaneously workforce productivity is also enhancing by better technology adoption and safe workplace. So increase corporate cost, enhance workforce output, better skill, lower attrition, higher moral, reduction of dispute. This is a more productive. So friends, if compliance cost increases, but productivity does not increase, then industry will suffer. If welfare and productivity rise together, then in not only India, industry will win, but industry will win. That is the balancing act of reforms that will take place. Next. So this powerful, if you follow this powerful reform, it depends upon, highly depend upon execution. Industry get predictability, worker get dignity, employee economy get demand, and India get productivity. That is the summary of this. But if you see the negative part, and negative thing should not be there, that is their compliance become digital, licensor should not come. MSME should not be burdened, and there should be some system which can be hand-holding can take place. Portal should not become bottlenecks, because everything we are giving there. Inspector discretion written digitally and on selective basis. Cost rise without productivity. Now these are the all damaging point. So the success of this labor code will depend less on drafting and more on the implementation. That understanding we must understand. Next. So there are some suggestions which I have identified that public policy work in progress must be improved. Number one, true single window. So we have a unified portal for registration, PF, ESI, gig workers and safety, and government is working on this. But labor law is a big issue and big point, so it should not be scattered. License rights should be end, ensure digital compliance and transparent system. MSME transition should also take place, simplified return model template, and protect transition window, because you should not put penalty on immediately. Faster resolution of the disputes. The tribunal should change and make it more e-tribunal type things. So on the basis things should take. We are talking about the minimum basis. We should focus on skill and productive link basis. That is the future requirement. Gig workers clarity should be there because new type of gig workers are coming. That is another aspect. Then national skill-based grid should also be there, where they should do skill enhancement training, and sector demand should also there. And database integration for unorganized PF, ESI database into a single source of truth should also be there. Next. So these are some changes suggestion. Now global competitiveness challenges, that is also very important. We see China. China historic engine is they built on cheap labor. They scaled up discipline, infrastructure, productivity, export orientation, industrial clusters, and labor absorption. And the PLI scheme is also part of this same thing. India has a future engine because we have democracy. China doesn't. Young population, they are losing. Service strength and the digital capability, these are the things. Only critical missing part is improved labor productivity, skill industrial discipline. It can change the entire thing. So China became the factory of the world on skill and productivity. India must become the trusted workforce and manufacturing hub of India through dignity, skill, and governance. This is the most important. Next. So we have to understand next that India must ensure that labor law reform does not reduce competitiveness. So worker protection, employment flexibility, that is there. MSME, which labor union were opposing, MSME affordability, global competitiveness and digital simplicity, and then productivity growth. This is the balancing competitive equation we should have. If labor costs rise without productivity, which I have already told, India become less competitive. If productivity rise with welfare, India become globally stronger. That we must understand, and then everybody should realize this point, that it is double sword and we have to do this. Next. So implementation plan should be digital infrastructure. So single national compliance portal, integrated social security database, standard templates for HR policy. That is very important. I was the chairman of Secretary Standard Board of Company law related things, and I have seen if you standardize your compliance, your dispute, and your confusion is always out. So that should be there. Process reform, we must do this. Then phase 3, that sectoral and systemic nuance, that should also be there. That today we are talking about the all laws are applicable to all, but IT, logistics, gig manufacturing, MSME, they should have productivity link, skill oriented, and they should have separate law point also. And the labor tribunal modernization is very, and modernization and monetization should be there. So this is macro implementation prerequisite. But now what corporate should do? The next is corporate readiness advisory. Shivam, next. So immediately audit and restructure. Labor code readiness audit, wage CTC restructuring, PF, ESI gratuity impact analysis. And Malik sir is one of the finest professional in this area who can advise on this issue. Then strategic overall we have to do, HR policy you have to change, standard order revision you have to do, Gig platform worker, if working in your company, you have to classify it, you have to understand. Digital register implementation you have to do. Risk and compliance, contractor compliance audit, the OSH safety audit you have to do. Deploy broad level labor compliance dashboard should also be there. Now these are the things which corporate has to do, and Nitesh and Anupam sir can be very useful and helpful for everyone to do this. At last, I will just say, beginning, it's a beginning. It's not the end. The labor code represents the fundamental architect of India's new workforces. The true success of this labor code will not be measured by how many laws were consolidated, but how many workers become secure, how many business become productive, and how much stronger India became. That is the crux of this entire labor code and labor issues. So thank you very much, friends. This is my opening comment. Now I will request Nitesh. Yeah, Malik sir, you were saying something. You have to unmute yourself, sir. Unmute, sir. Shivam, can you unmute, sir?
You have put it in the most beautiful manner.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So now, I'll request Nitesh to quickly glance through what are the rule changes has come, and then Anupam sir, you give the broader aspects what corporate should do and what are the issues in this, and then we'll have a question answer. So please, I'll request all the participants, please, you can write questions here. We'll give answer. Over to you, Nitesh.
Thank you, sir. Good evening to all of you. This is the So this is our fifth webinar we are conducting on labor codes. Much has been changed since last webinar because the new rules has been notified on 8th of May. So lot of has changed from the draft rules. A lot of thing has been clarified. A lot of things has been newly introduced under the code. So let's start what was there in the draft rules or what was missing in the draft rules and what is there in the draft rules in the final rules. So all the rules under all the rules under all four codes have been notified on 8th of May 2026. Now we'll take up one by one. Now we'll start with the code on wages. So code on wages, it's been notified on 8th of May, introducing some key deviations. Some of the new obligations have been introduced on the employer side. So central rules, since this is a central rules, not a state rules, so it is basically covering or having an impact on the establishment which have been controlled or which have been owned by central governments, like public sector undertakings, public sector banks and all. So, under the draft rules, which was it was mentioned that whenever a state government will kind of formulate a minimum wages, they have to consider these parameters like in a family of a worker, you consider while finalizing your minimum wage that they assume that 3 adult members is there in the worker family. There must be a 2700 calorie per day requirement. There's a minimum quantity of clothes you require every year. Then there's a house rent and the fuel and the education and medical. So they kind of fix the parameter basis upon which minimum wages will be kind of calculated or determined by each state government. Now this has been removed from the final rules. Now the central government, whenever they think fit or whatever they think that it should be more parameters to be there while kind of determining a minimum wage. So as and when the central government think, they will notify those parameters, and the state government has to comply with those parameters whenever they are coming with or fixing the minimum wages for their state level workers. Now, a major change has been proposed under the wage code. In fact, under the draft rules on the wages, it was not mentioned what is the normal working hour. So this has been changed now, or this has been kind of clarified, or they are specifically mentioned. Now, for a daily wage worker, the normal working hour is fixed at 8 hours, excluding your intervals. And for other a normal employee who work on a monthly wages, so their wages, so their wage normal working hours not fixed for a per day, but for on a weekly basis, that is 48 hours. I think it will open a door for many ITs companies which can provide a flexible working hours to their employees. Yes, sir. Anupam, sir, have you kind of have
You
something
put
on
up a
this?
very nice point here.
Yeah.
And congratulations to Mr. Pawan. He made a very nice presentation on the macro picture of these new labor codes. You see, people need to understand that today acquiring technology, the cost of technology and acquiring it is so high that employers have to be, business has to be very careful in deploying workforce, because any kind of mistake would be catastrophic for the new types of technology and machinery. And simply talking about, you see, the whatever you have put up number of hours, people need to understand the perspective. 8 hours, 48 hours, 4 days a week means what? There are many a business which have limited, you see, interaction. They are on the international circuit, and they have to work round the clock. You see, suppose you are catering to Europe, your timing is different. Suppose you are catering to, say, Japanese, the East,
Or US.
your timing is different.
Yeah.
So the industry should have the flexibility of, variable working hours. People misinterpreted this for 12 hours. They wrongly interpreted it, where 12 hours means you'll make people work beyond the standards. But that they do not understand that 12 hours a day means 4 hours. The benchmark of 48 hours a week has not been compromised.
Correct, sir.
And people need to understand that the first convention of the International Labour Organization, May Day, was 8 hours a week. The first convention talks about 8 hours a week, 8 hours a day. So that has not been compromised. And 12 hours does not mean 12 hours any length. 12 hours means 48 hours a week. That means 4 days working. Why? Because there are industries which have to cater to various time zones of the world, and they have continuous process. For every continuous process, and if they want to run the machinery for more number of hours, they have to take permission from the government. But now it will be their free will to run the machinery for larger number of hours and let the worker work for longer hours, but subject to again 48 hours a week. So when we are operating, we see new type of technology and new types of machinery, we have to conform to those requirements. So this has to be interpreted in the true sense of the requirement of the industry. If people are misinterpreting it, we have the responsibility of clarifying all this. That if any kind of misinterpretation is being done, we need to quash it.
Definitely. Yantesh.
Yeah.
Okay, Nitish.
Yeah, sir. Thank you, sir. So 48 hours, 8 hours should be read in a flexible manner rather than as a stringent. It is a kind of flexibility the employer can use it. The next is with respect to kind of a clarification in nature, you can say. There are some part-time employment which carries out in the company. So in that case, those kind of employees do not entitled to get the full working hour day. So they will be get a proportionate of the remuneration or whatever they entitled to, but on a proportionate basis rather than a full day normal working day. The next is with respect to a fine and deduction from the wages of the employee. So under the draft rule, there is some kind of confusion that before penalizing any worker, you need to take the approval of the Deputy Chief Labor Commissioner or inspector cum facilitator. Now that final rule has removed this kind of complexity, because it is kind of taking it to another level, that before deduction, legible deduction, which is as per our code of conduct, company's code of conduct or HR policy, you have to take the authority's approval. I think this has been kind of removed, because this is a very disputed thing which should not be there in the rule book. So it has been corrected in the final rule which has been notified. But yes, you have to give opportunity to that particular employee to whom you are proposing to make a deduction. But there's a principal rule or thumb rule is that the deduction should not be beyond 50% of their monthly wages. So that principle is still there. So whenever you are deducting anything from the wages, it must be make sure that it is guided by a principle of natural justice, and plus it should not be in excess of 50% of that monthly wage. There's another change in the final rule which says that every employer need to mandatorily file the returns electronically. So which is not there, which was not there in the draft rules. So it has been made mandatory that whatever be you filing, you file the returns through the portal. Whatever be the portal, the company will the government will specify. So the key takeaways of this with respect to the wage code, that you must have, out of all these four, you have to have a good HR policy which kind of have this structure of flexibility of 8 hours or 48 hours. And you need to strengthen the compliance towards your contractor, because whenever a contractor fails to pay to their employees or workers which have been deployed at principal place, whenever there's a failure on the part of the contractor, the principal employer is liable. So now next, coming on to the OSH occupational safety, health and working condition rules. Now there has been a lot of change under these rules from the draft rules. Now I will take you to the changes which have been proposed. So first is the registration part. So whenever a new business comes into being, so they have to kind of file for a registration for taking a license under this code. So there's a kind of limit to that, which is a 60 days time limit to get yourself registered. However, under the draft rule, there was no late fee provisions whenever a employer go and get the register beyond this timeline. So there is a late fee introduced, but the amount of the late fee is not mentioned, but they will be mentioned through a separate notification. As far as the existing employer are concerned, as existing establishment are concerned, a 6-month transition period has been provided under the rule. So from 8th May till within 6 months from the 8th May, you have to kind of register or to kind of intimate the kind of requirement. If you look at the form, I think form 1, if you see that Form 1 have a kind of different information which is required from the employer side, if that information is still there as per the old laws, then you need not to intimate. But if there are some missing points, then you need to intimate, and you have a 6 months of time to get your filing done or intimate to the appropriate authority, so that all the information are available with the on the government portal. That is a Shram Suvidha portal. Or if you want to change anything which is you have currently, then you also need to comply with that provision to get the transition or to get that information updated on the portal. There is another kind of material change from the draft rules. Earlier, under the draft rules, there's a requirement to carry out the annual health checkup. So annual health checkup, there's a requirement to comply with this requirement. To comply with this requirement of annual checkup for a factory, dock work, mines and building and other construction worker. Now under the final rules, they have excluded the factory. This is applicable only to the establishment which are a dock work, mines or building or other construction worker. Anupam sir, you have something to say on this, why they have excluded the factory from this kind
See,
of.
it is not a blanket exclusion.
Hmm.
It has been made more focused. The matter is still there, the provision is still there, but the focus is on hazardous occupations. If there is a
Okay.
hazardous occupation or some area where there is a risk to the health, say dust, fumes, or something like that, then there is no exemption from this.
Okay. You mean to
Only
say.
when the hazard is not there, then they will bypass it.
Okay. Okay. So you
But
mean
it
to.
has become more focused and structured.
Okay, sir. Okay. But it was there in the draft rules. Now they have specifically removed and maintained
There's,
this dock,
that
mines and.
is made good actually, that because general checkup means nothing.
Okay.
Everybody's responsibility is nobody's responsibility. General checkup, the way it used to happen, it was eye wash. Now, when the whole matter is focused on hazard occupations, then it will be focused and it will be meaningful. When there is a risk to the worker or the industry, then the focus will be there. Proper job work will be done then. It is not eye wash.
Okay.
Okay.
Next, coming on to the appointment letter. The appointment letter requirement has been tightened. So earlier under the draft rules, the employment letter has to be provided within 3 months of notification of the rules. Now that transition period has been removed. Now it has to be given as ASAP. It has to be provided by, I think, now it has been more than 2 weeks since the rules were notified. So you have to comply as immediately as possible. Now, under the appointment letter, there is a change that you need to kind of categorize the kind of employment he or she has in the appointment letter, whether it's a regular, fixed term, contractual, because it is very important from the liability point of view. Because whenever a company or whenever there's a employee which knows, or any regulatory authority or any inspecting authority kind of look into the liability side, whosoever is liable, whether the employer or my contractor or anybody else. Now this appointment letter is the main trigger point to which the liability will be determined. Anything, sir, you have on this?
Let me add here.
Yeah.
That we are talking of the wage structure, we are talking of working conditions, we are talking about skills and technology, etc.
Correct, sir.
The biggest thing which actually you are personally focusing professionally is that whatever the change in working conditions, terms and condition of appointment, by originally or because of the new code on labor codes, the employers need to understand that this has to be incorporated in the terms and conditions of the appointment letter and also in the policy of the company. If that is not there, how it will be made applicable?
Correct, sir.
So if employers are, I wash will not work. Tomorrow they'll have a problem if they don't incorporate these changes in the terms and conditions of appointment in the appointment letter and in the company policy. How will they enforce it? And in case of dispute, how will they prove their bona fide?
Correct.
So simply complying with the labor code is not enough. We have to incorporate it in the terms and conditions of appointment letter as well as in the company policies.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Earlier, the Aadhaar number has to be provided, was required to be provided under the draft rules. Now it has been made optional. The notification to the same is already notified by the central government that Aadhaar is only made optional. It cannot be made mandatory because of the privacy and all. Now, there is a kind of applicability of accidental and dangerous occurrences within the organization establishment reporting mechanism. So earlier, earlier only three kind of establishments were covered: dock work, mines, and building and construction worker. Now they are covering all of the establishment, irrespective of their nature, to kind of report each and every accident depending upon the kind of accident it is there and the kind of consequences, whether anybody died or having any disability occur to any employer. So depending upon the accident and its nature, you have to kind of report. If it is a if the accident results into any death, you have to report immediately. Otherwise, you have to report within 12 hours or 48 hours. So now every establishment is covered. This is there in the final rules. So you have to kind of strengthen your kind of control system so that as and when the accident occur, it has to be reported. You have to have some SOPs so that it will kind of reach to the appropriate authority in a timely manner.
Nitesh, let me say something here.
Yeah, yes, sir.
See, the focus earlier was only Factories Act and Factory Act only,
Correct, sir.
manufacturing process.
Manufacturing.
Now the Occupational Safety Code has covered the service sector also.
Yes.
Now this is very interesting, and ergonomics has been brought in for the first time. Working conditions in service sector become something very, very important. And of course, the reporting of accidents was a very poor show. From my experience in the government, I can say that it was disastrous. The number of accidents reported under the Factories Act and that reported under the ESI is a sea of difference. That means no value for the worker who's facing the work. If we don't have that data, how will we improve the working conditions? But now this system, which has been made mandatory for reporting, will improve things. And the next step is that they will, on the portal level, they will connect the reporting of accidents from occupational safety to ESI also. When that will be connected, you see, covering up bad working conditions will not be possible. This is going to happen, and people need to be prepared for this. You can't hide your faults and fallacies like this by simply not reporting. This will not work now. Gradually, all this is going to come on the portal and everything will be merged. And something reported under the ESI will be reported under the Occupational Safety Code also. And something reported under the Occupational Safety Code will be reported on the ESI Social Security Code also.
Correct, sir. Correct.
Okay.
And they have also specified what kind of dangerous occurrences are. It is not only key whenever there is a death or disability occurs, only a small occurrences, but having an impact or might impact in future, it has to be disclosed. So there is a long list. I think 25 items are there specified under these rules, which have to be reported.
See, dangerous occurrences are the guide to the risk involved in the workplace.
Yes, sir.
And if that is not checked, then we will be missing the focus on serious accidents.
Correct. Correct.
Dangerous occurrences are only a signal that there is something wrong in the
Wrong.
workplace
Correct.
and something serious may happen.
Yes, sir.
So if it is not attended, then we are waiting for disasters to happen.
Correct, sir.
Okay.
The next is safety committee. There is no much material change in the safety committee compliances. Only you have to kind of comply with the, because there is a requirement to have quarterly meeting, you need to maintain the minutes. So whatever be the recommendation of the committee, it has to be actually kind of considered by the board of that company. So you have to make a proper system to have this committee running and actually running, not for a compliance purpose only, because this committee have a different specified list of terms of reference which takes into the safety, health, occupation of that every worker in the organization. And there's one more kind of introduction into the rules, that is welfare officer. So it is not a safety officer. Safety officer has its own requirement under mines and building and other construction work establishment. But a welfare officer is a new introductory officer which is introduced into the final rules, which says that every factory, mines, and having a 250 to more than 250 workers in an establishment which are factory mines have to have at least one welfare officer. If it is beyond 500, then one additional. For per 500 workers, you have to introduce one more additional welfare officer.
Earlier, everything stopped at 500 workers only. But now we are going on scales 200 to
250, 500,
500 and beyond.
Beyond.
Welfare officer was there once, but not additional. Now they have brought it that for every 500 extra workers, you will have another welfare officer. Now this means that it cannot be eyewash. Performance will be checked.
Correct.
Safety committee was earlier more of a easy
Compliance.
formality. Now it has become a mandatory provision. The participation of workers and all technology oriented people will be recognized and will be recorded to prevent disasters.
Correct.
Okay.
And also the in the welfare officer as well. It is not like any male officer will be appointed. Depending upon the proportionate of male and female workers, you have to appoint a welfare officer. If out of 2000 workforce, you have a 50-50, then you have 2 of male and 2 of female welfare officer. So another change in kind of, this is also taken from the making in line with the code of wages. So hourly, weekly ceiling normal working hours. So the maximum weekly hours has been retained at 48 hours. Overtime trigger, if you do the overwork, if you do the working for a daily wages more than 8 hours in a day, and in case of monthly wages, if you do, or if you if the working hours is more than 48 hours, then only you are eligible. It is not that if you are a monthly wager and you have happened to carry out any overtime rate in a day beyond 8 hours, you get eligibility. You will only get eligible once you trigger or you breach the working hours limit 48 hours in a week. So in case of monthly wage earners, You have to see weekly working hours. If it is beyond 48 hours, then only you are eligible for the overtime. The next is the wage slip. So now under the final rule, it has been clarified that the wage slip has to be provided in electronic form only. Okay, so under the draft rules, the manual options was removed. Now it has to be mandatorily be provided in the electronic form. So every organization has to change their system accounting, which has to be generated from the system itself on if you provide because you have to comply with the payment of wages by 7th of the next month, you have to clear the wages. So by clearing the wages, you at the simultaneously you provide electronic wage slip as well. Now there is in the final rules, there is a kind of declaration you have to provide that whatever be the ESI PF contribution you are required to pay, it has been done in accordance with the law. So that declaration or kind of certification you need to provide. There is a new mechanism which is introduced whenever there is an inquiry with respect to any of the complaint with respect to any kind of dispute under this code. So that complaint has to be adjudicated in a time frame manner, and not more than 3 adjournments are allowed. So it's a time bound kind of redressal of the complaint or inquiry. So complaint has to be kind of filed if there is any dispute with respect to wages or any kind of dispute or a worker aggrieved by anything from the employer side. So it has to make a complaint within 6 months of that offense. There is a grievance redressal for the contractual worker as well. So whatever be the contractor worker has any grievance with the principal employer or his own employer or contractor, then he or she can approach the inspector cum facilitator, and inspector and facilitator has to dispose of the complaint within 60 days.
Please
So this,
observe here that, one
Yeah.
minute.
yeah, sir.
Please observe here that the entire focus of these new codes is of prevention of any kind of glitch in working of the industry and prevention of disputes in the first place. The bipartisan is a very big introduction in the new labor codes, that the law promotes bipartite consultation between worker and employer and does not encourage tripartite, government intervention or outside intervention. So grievance redressal is the first step. I always talk about a thumb rule that good professionals should prevent deficiencies into becoming grievances and grievances becoming complaints and complaints becoming disputes and disputes becoming industrial disputes and industrial disputes becoming industrial unrest. If deficiencies are not allowed to happen, then there will be no grievance and no escalation further. So this new thing in the new labor code is encouraging prevention of disputes and peaceful working, as Mr. Pawan had said, skill-based working, efficiency and profitable working of the industry. That is what it is about. Okay, Nitesh.
Yes, sir. And also, sir, there is whatever be the dispute or whatever where the worker feel aggrieved that his complaint never be heard. Now there's everything under the code which kind of redress his complaint in a very timely manner. It is not like it is there before the authority for years, which we have been experiencing for so long. There has been change under the Social Security Code as well, which says Under the gratuity, there have been some kind of confusion under the draft rules, because under the draft rules, there were some kind of allowances or some kind of items which were mentioned in the draft rule, which says that it is covered, it is not covered. So uh, it is kind of inferring a different definition to calculate a gratuity. Now it has been removed from the final rules. Whatever be the gratuity you have to determine, it has to be determined as per the wages, actual wages. It is not what should be included, what should not be. It has to see from the definition of the wage itself, what is to be included, what is not to be included.
Far better clarity.
Correct, sir. Under the maternity benefits as well, if any aggrieved worker feels aggrieved that she is not given maternity benefit, so her matter will be heard within 3 months. It has to be disposed of within 3 months. There has been a good change, a favorable change in the favor of gig and platform workers under the Social Security Code, which says that whenever there is a new worker joining the platform, so it has to be updated on the central portal, which the government will notify soon. And whenever a worker exit whenever a worker exit, it has to be reported. So entry and exit has to be reported.
Nitesh, I'll try to put something more broad based on gig and platform workers.
Yes, sir.
Since the technology is the focus today,
Correct, sir.
we don't, and flexible working means it is not necessary that employer must engage every type of technology worker in the factory. Encouraging gig workers and protecting their rights means that employers are free to engage workers from the outside pool of skilled workers, provide them with their rights, and let them work. But then the gig workers on the platform and without a platform need to be protected. Their rights should be protected. Like these Zomato, Swiggy, and these Uber, Ola, they have been making money out of thin air, and the workers' rights have been thrown into the wind. Now those people will have to come online and register their workforce online. This is a wonderful change. This is encouraging the industry to engage skilled workers from outside as gig workers and pay them well. So just imagine the various levels of employment which have been brackets that have been created for facilitating the working of the industry. You see, permanent worker, again, very simple. Then you have casual and temporary, etc., etc. Then you have fixed term workers. Say for fixed term worker employees is a very new concept which was not there earlier. Now it was there, in fact, in section 200BB of the Industrial Dispute Act, but now it has been made very clear, and the rights are protected. Fixed term workers, but the gig workers has been added as a class of workers, but their rights will be protected.
And sir, one more purpose of kind of registering on a specified portal is to also,
Yes.
whenever a government will come out with any scheme, so whosoever are registered on this portal, they will be eligible to get the benefit of the scheme as and when the government will come out. Because they are proposing
They
to
are
provide
proposing to
insurance.
include gig workers for becoming members of the Provident Fund and ESI.
ESI, yes, sir.
They are encouraging, and the government will also put in money to support these workers.
Yes, sir.
Big development.
Correct, sir. There is also compliance on the platform or whatever be the tech company. So whosoever onboarding gig and platform worker, they have to file the monthly return with the authority just to have that whatever be the whosoever are there on their app are also updated on the portal of the government. So it was there under the draft rule. The requirement was to file a quarterly. Now it has been made on a monthly basis, so that a real-time check will be there. So I think this is from the code, all code side. Now some notifications have been introduced by the central government. So these notifications are kind of designating who will be the competent authority, who will be the recovery officer, who will be the compounding officer. So that notification cover all those things. These are applicable to all those establishments which are owned and controlled by the central government. So the private firms and the private companies are still not covered. They are covered by the state rules as and when notified by the states. So the existing rule will be applicable till then. The final rules are notified by the state governments. Only 3 or 4 state governments have notified their rules. For example, Gujarat, Bihar, Arunachal, and Mizoram. They have only notified their rules. There's a notification like Aadhaar verification, which I earlier told that it has been made voluntary. If the employee is not comfortable in giving Aadhaar number, so it is kind of optional to those workers. There's a notification with respect to reskilling of funds, as the Pawan sir initially said that this labor code is not all about production. It is also all about the worker development in the future. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You see, the law, the government is recognizing, giving very due recognition about the rapid changes taking place in the technology and industry and their needs. So in that case, the workers become redundant. If some new technology comes, the workers become redundant. But the government and the law is recognizing the need to reskill these workers. You can't throw a skilled worker out. After all, he has a base. He knows the profession is the job. But if some new technology is coming which is obstructing his working, then they have provided for reskilling fund. The whole thing is not clear as yet how this will be used or how it will be administered. However, in case of retrenchment and closure of establishments, a certain amount, I think probably 1% or something like that, has to be deposited in the reskilling fund, which will be used for reskilling of workers in case they have lost their job because of redundancy. This is a very, very positive development and a very futuristic provision where we are supporting the workforce and their upgradation and maintaining their earning capacity by reskilling them. Reskilling has become a very important issue everywhere in every industry. For example, some 2-3 years ago, DLF had put in a research that there was 60% shortage of construction labor in the market. Why? Because there is no skilling and reskilling facility available, and the government had to focus on this. But worst is coming in the technology sector, because the technologies are changing at a very rapid pace, and reskilling facilities are not available. Now these funds which are going to be created by the government will be used for focusing on reskilling of the workers. This is a very positive and futuristic step. Okay, Nitesh.
So this is from my side. This is the next. This final rules now it has been now placed. Now it's the time for the employer to think to kind of change their HR policies as per the new rules, to restructure their wages to be in line with the code, or to kind of unearth the hidden liabilities either in the form of leave encashment, gratuity, or anything else. So they have to rethink, they have to reskill themselves in line with the code, so that they will come out with better choices. They will come out with a better policies in favor of the workers and the employees.
And what Nitesh is doing is he is guiding people to incorporate all these changes in the terms and condition of appointment in the appointment letter, and also changes in the company policies and formats they are using.
Okay. Nitesh,
Yes, sir.
sir, Nitesh has given this particular presentation now. Now over to you. Whatever you think that company should prepare, what are the important issues? There are so many. We have received 17 question here and 20 question are with me. So something I will cover in the question answer, but your expert view on the overall rules which are there, what company should prepare, what they should do. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Pawanji. There was some lack of clarity in the absence of rules, whereas the law is very clear that no rules can bypass the main act. The main act will prevail. However, the rules have made things much more clear for the purpose of implementation. So this is something very, very welcome. Now what the company's employees need to do is chart out a course of action where they want to. You see, one problem which everybody is
No.
complaining about is that with the wage structure, in the new wage structure which is required under the wage code, is that 50% of the wages have to be basic. Basic cannot be 50% of the gross. Now the biggest problem that happens is, suppose what they were doing earlier was the basic was being kept at 10-20% of the carry to gross wages. Why? So that they don't have to pay bonus, they don't have to pay overtime. The bonus, overtime and other facilities were being paid at 10-20% of the gross wages. Now when they have to pay at a higher wage, say 50%, they have to be prepared for that kind of jump in their expenditure. The other problem on the worker side is that when the say for example provident fund deduction will increase, the carry home of the worker will reduce. And in many industries which are very, cash oriented workers are there temporary, they just want money in their hand. There are many types of skilled workforce which are focused on cash in hand. बोलता है साहब हमें नहीं मालूम ये क्या 12% आप पीएफ कुछ भी देते हो, हमारे को बोलो आप पैसा घटाओ नहीं, हमारे को इतना पैसा चाहिए, खत्म. How will you manage that kind of workforce? So the employer has to now do some balancing act to make the worker happy and ensure that he gets some cash in hand to survive. And of course, provident fund is very important, and a good amount is going to go to the provident fund, where again the worker is benefited. But again, the worker is more concerned if cash in hand. I want my food now. I'll look at these things later on. Provident fund is a much later story. So the employer has to restructure the wages in a manner that worker also gets something and he does not get into a trap of 50% and everything gets merged into, say, for deduction of provident fund, and the employer will be penalized. So those new terms and conditions will have to incorporate it in the appointment letter and also in the company manuals on HR rules. So this is first thing which they have to look at. The other is employers need to do a skill audit of the manpower, that what is the level of skills they want. Simply, engaging hordes is a very old concept now. You cannot engage people in hordes. You need to be very focused and structured about the manpower to be allowed to work inside. If somebody is a technology man, very good, welcome. If somebody is not a technology oriented person, he is not welcome. So then the employers have to restructure their skill mapping is required, and then their work audit has to be there, and they have to redo the entire costing of their HR. A good lot of work is required by the employer to really work it out and not only compliance but their own maintain their own profitability and good relation with the workers. As I said, because of the new wage structure, the carry home of the worker is going to reduce, which is going to be a problem. I have first-hand experience in many industries where the worker is not ready to reduce his carry home. There's nothing doing. साहब मेरा पैसा मेरे को पैसा मांगता है. अपन को महीना में जाके इतना खर्चा चाहिए घर के लिए. अब ये प्रोविडेंट फंड का कटौती है, आप करो, हमें नहीं मालूम है. आप खर्चा आप करो, हम नहीं करेगा. How do you make the worker understand this? Somehow the employer has to adjust some amounts in a manner that they escape the bracket of provident fund, and that 50% is also barrier is not breached, and worker also gets some money in hand, plus the law is not violated. And on the other hand, he has to focus on workforce. Skill mapping has become a very dire necessity today, which earlier people were avoiding, and only certain industries were doing it. Now skill mapping has become a very important requirement to be fulfilled by especially technology based industries. So the system, the new laws encourage all these new systems. Then when we come to other things like maintaining good relations, that IR code is provided a wonderful structure of bipartite consultation. You don't let things boil over at all. Don't let a grievance become a dispute, or dispute and become an industrial dispute, an industrial dispute become an unrest. Matters have to be resolved at the very first stage of grievance. The grievance redressal law was already there in the earlier Industrial Dispute Act also, 9G, but now it has become mandatory and is conjoined with the bipartite settlement of disputes. So that becomes very, very important in the new context, where we are looking at harmonious working and productive working of the profitable working of the industry. After IR code, you see, occupational safety, of course, is a very fundamental issue, which was very, very selective and was focused only on Factories Act, factory manufacturing process. Now the occupational safety, health and provisions are universal right, whether it is a service sector, a hotel, a restaurant, or a IT company or whatever. So it has become a universal right. And keeping a watch on the occupational safety has also become a necessary format for the employer and for the government. Reporting of accident, as I said in between, that was disastrous. It was pathetic. The number of accidents reported under Factories Act totally mismatched those reported under ESI. There is a sea of difference between the data reported in the ESI and the Factories Act. People were getting rid of the problem accidents, and hiding dangerous occurrences were not reported at all. As a result, dangerous occurrences were actually multiplying into situations where serious accidents did take place. So all those things have been covered under the Occupational Safety Code, and has become very necessary to work according to the new law. Now, in the compliance front, occupational safety makes it very easy that they are provided for one registration for all the law provisions. One registration, under that you will have to seek permission for transport workers or contract workers or whatever. So that has become very, very easy, as you had pointed out, digitalization of compliance. That has become wonderful. And with this digitalization of compliance, social security provision compliance has become easy. easy to implement and easy to audit. So that is the overview of the new labor codes. And I would repeat all what you had said, that an new era for the industry to focus on skills development and profitability and productivity has started. These issues were not under focus in the previous laws at all. The compliance was compliance was totally inspector based. And an employer was liable to be prosecuted just for violation. Now the prosecution is not possible for violation. The prosecution is only for non-compliance, that if an opportunity has to be given to the employer to comply. And if he doesn't comply, then compounding of offenses. This point was highlighted by Mr. Nitesh. And after compounding of offenses, if again the employer is still a habitual offender, then the penalties were so heavy. They are very heavy. Things have been made. Now digitalization of compliance has made things easy for the employer and for the enforcing agencies to detect habitual offenders. So ultimately, by default and by no option, employers have to focus on skill-based working, productivity and profitability. And these laws facilitate and support the employer in this respect, while protecting the rights of the workers, employees. I think that's all.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Now, what I'll do, Nitesh, and you have given various questions, various answers, which are no doubt in the minds of people. But let's take questions which has come, and Nitesh, I will ask a question from sir, but wherever you want to add something shortly, because I have to cover so many questions, so participant can give. Now, sir, I will start this. What is the difference between worker and employee in service industry? Who are covered under definition of worker?
You see, employee is a very general terminology. Worker, they are talking about in a particular context of a certain level of employee who has a certain level of wage. You see, we are focusing more on minimum wage. Employee is a very general terminology. Everybody is an employee. Your manager is an employee. The rights are common. Say, for example, gratuity. Overtime has become a universal right. Can you imagine that under the new wage code? Even if there is a manager, earlier the staff and managers were excluded from overtime, but now they are also covered. Earlier, there was a differentiation between a person who could make a claim under the Payment of Wages Act and those who could not. But now when everybody is employed, everybody is covered under wage code, then even a manager can make a claim against the employer that his wages have not been paid. So that respective, you see, categorization is always there. What kind of right is there? But now things have become very wide, broad spectrum.
Okay.
Just to add, sir, just to add, because the question is related to service industry, whatever sir said, it is over and above what I believe what the question is all about. So they are saying that it is into a service industry where there is no such manufacturing and all. But the definition of worker is very narrower. It is a subset of an employee. In a service industry like us or any other service industry, if those employee which are not into the managerial or administrative, for example, front office staff, an agent or a technician, which are not in the managerial or administration or supervisory, they are all for a service industry can be called as a worker. Just to clarify.
Okay. Sir, what is the difference between worker and supervisor or manager?
You see, let us make it very, very clear. The case law comes from the previous law, Industrial Disputes Act, that a a manager and a worker differentiation is that a person who has financial and administrative authority is not a worker, is a manager.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That is a thumb rule.
Okay.
That remains actually. But
Oh,
then at
okay.
various levels, the rights are added. As I said, under the Wage Code, under the Gratuity Act, the overtime, the bonus, all these things are entitlement is to everybody. But for the purpose of interstitial disputes under the IR code, that differentiation is being made for specific purpose, that a worker, has much broader number of rights for raising disputes, etc., when he does not have any financial authority or administrative authority. That thumb rule comes from the case law from the Supreme Court, and that remains. That thumb rule is still there.
Okay. Sir, whether increasing threshold for layoff and retrenchment under the Industrial Relation Code is constitutionally challenged under Article 14?
No, I'll tell you this. This was very, very contentious. Has been very contentious for a long time. And this proposal for making it 300 or 500 is a very old proposal. Problem is that today we are at a level of growth where a medium industry needs to be supported. The temporariness of business has become an order of the day. Suppose the business is available only for 1 year. What will the employer do? He has to go through the rigmarole of legal permissions from the government to close down or lay off, retrenchment or closure. That is very tough. Now that threshold has been raised from 100 to 300. This is an excellent step, because let us be practical that up to 300 workers and adding about some contract workers for those non-core work, which will touch about 200 more in average industry, medium industry. If he has to restructure, things are much easier now. This is very, very relevant and very important to today's business environment. There are many industries, specifically say garment industry, the orders are available only for 6 months or say. The orders manufacturing components from even good automobile companies are actually duration is only 2 years, and the orders are given quarterly basis. What will the employer do? Suppose the orders don't come. He'll have no option, but how will he run the factory if he is not allowed to reduce the manpower? Now it has become easy to restructure. Restructure is a wonderful part of business today. Most important. Restructure is the name of the game today. Somebody wants to lay off. Suppose there is no work, say for a month or 2 months. The employer has the right to lay off without permission from the government. I am dealing with a case of a very reputed company, FMCG company in J&K and Himachal, where the profitability, the cost of manufacturing is very high. So they want to shift the manufacturing facility to somewhere in Madhya Pradesh. They have no option but to close down the unit. And they are able to do it only because their number of workers only 150 in each unit. So it's very easy. They pay off the worker fair and square. Whatever the law, the law has provided for a higher level of amount of compensation.
Okay.
Good. People are ready to pay, but you at least permit them to run the business in a flexible manner. So this was a very important provision for manufacturing organizations that has been brought in. Excellent job.
Okay. So does deduction include LOP for absences? Absentee?
No. Deduction, yes, absence from work, unauthorized absence will lead to deduction, that's for sure.
Okay.
So it is provided under section 20, it is allowable deduction.
Yes.
Okay.
Permitted.
Is misconduct in fraud case can employer deduct 100% wages?
You see, the thumb rule is the principles of natural justice prevail. The constitution is the master. We all work, whether the old law or the new law has to be subservient to the Constitution of India. And principles of natural justice will prevail. First thing is that principles of natural justice have to be followed in establishing the offense or misconduct. Once the misconduct has been established by going through a fair inquiry, then it is the employer who will decide the damages. 100% deduction can be awarded by the punishing authority after assessing the damages caused by the misconduct. To the extent that there is provision for even you see, confiscation of gratuity if the damages are to that extent. But again, this has to be established in a proper, fair and free inquiry. And then only the punishing authority will be free to impose that level of punishment.
Sir, whether labor being in, yeah, Nitesh, you want to say?
Yeah, sir. Whatever Anupam sir said, that principle of natural justice has to be followed in this case, and it is guided by my HR policy. Though there is no specifically mentioned in case of fraud, I can deduct 100%, but it has to be checked on case to case basis. But in the case of bonus, if it is agreed or it is found that he's actually it is decided that it has done a fraud or kind of do some any other activity which is as per our against our HR policy, he's ineligible to get the bonus, and it is actually provided under the act that is ineligible for the bonus.
Sir, sir, if any contract worker is working at dock mines, are they required to undergo medical test?
It is very, very necessary. Under the Mines Act, I have first-hand experience. I have first-hand information about this because I was dealing with the Bandhwa Mukti Morcha case in the Faridabad mines. They are all contract workers. And they have to go through a medical test. It is very mandatory.
Okay.
Supreme, law or no law, it is a Supreme Court direction that workers have to be screened for health hazards affecting their
Yeah.
health.
Okay.
Case law is Bandhwa Mukti Morcha versus State of Union of India and others.
Okay. This is very big question. I will come back after completing other question. We can get draft appointment letter. Many workers work for few days and leave. Can we give appointment letter only after workers work for 3 months? Because what is happening, I think this question is, sir, I have taken appointment letter from you. I will bargain other place. I'll get more money and I will leave it. I will not join.
Very dicey. No. One more. This is slightly different. What you are saying is an offer is made and he'll use that offer to bargain somewhere else. No. The question who has been put for a different purpose. The problem in the industry is when they join, they work for only 3 months or 4 months and they run away.
Okay.
That is the problem. The skilled workers don't stay on. That is the problem. Whoever has put this question has this in his mind, because I'm talking about the practical problem in the industry that skilled workers take the appointment, work for 3-4 months and they run away. What do you do with that? Your work is obstructed.
Okay.
How do you manage that situation, and where the skill deficiency is a serious issue in the industry? How will you manage that? The workers turnover is very high. Here the HR policies will help. Okay, I put a very big example here. In IT industry, the turnover, the attrition rate is so high, 25 to 40%, 45%. But in the case of TCS, it is not there. Why? Because they have very good HR policies and they tend to retain the workers. When you give good comfort to the worker to stay on and work in a good environment, they will not run away. But if you don't give good environment for work and confidence to the employee, A skilled worker, why will he will respond to the demand of the market? Suppose his skills command more price, he'll go away. So simple. But that does not entitle the employer to give an employment letter after 3 months.
Okay.
No,
Should
that
appointment letter specify work hours and wage and overtime rate, working
they
times?
have to. They should. Because in the new code, whatever the terms and conditions have been put, like for example, the encashment of leave is fixed at 30 days. You see, you can retain 30 days, carry forward only 30 days earned leave. But I'm aware of many companies who earlier had free ship. Carry forward as many as you want, 50, 60, 70, 100 to 150 also. I know a very old MNC which is allowing carry forward of earned leave up to 150 days. You see, in the government we have 300 days. We can store up to 300 days of earned leave. In the government we are allowed to accumulate 300 days of earned leave, and that private MNC was allowing 150 days. Why? Creating disputes. They have disputes because of this. So the new law provides only 30 days. You have to pay off the balance of available leave at the end of the year. So if these terms and conditions are not specified in the appointment letter and in the HR policy manual, this is what Nitesh is exactly doing these days, that he's guiding people to jot out and amend their appointment letter and HR manuals to conform to the new laws. So that it is very clear for the worker and for the employer, and there is no dispute.
Okay. If the Aadhaar is optional, how do we handle PF and ESI, which are all Aadhaar based?
You see, this was taken up by the Supreme Court in the matter. I don't remember that particular case. That how can the Aadhaar be mandatory? How can it be a mandatory provision for a person who is on his own?
Yes, one son. Okay. And Nitesh, you have
The criteria in that case came out was that if the government is providing some facility, they can tag it to Aadhaar. If the government is not providing any facility or some added, you see, some kind of benefit, then the government cannot ask for Aadhaar. But in the case of Provident Fund and ESI, the government is providing benefits, very important benefits. Therefore, the Aadhaar will be required in the PF and ESI.
Okay. Nitesh,
But
you
for
have
employment, no, not for employment.
Okay.
Employer cannot ask for Aadhaar just for employing. Provident Fund can ask for it.
Sir, it is made optional, not mandatory. Wherever the kind of worker think that he can share the Aadhaar, he can give. There is no restriction for sharing. Where
No, Nitesh, the question is whether it's a compulsory or not. The optional thing you can give. The law provide restriction on that you cannot ask. If I'm giving something to you along with my document, nobody will stopping.
No, for employment, no problem. But for PF, ESI, because the government is providing facility, they can ask for Aadhaar.
Okay. Sir, whether the labor code adequately balance Article 19(1)(g) right to employer and Article 21 dignity right of workers.
You see, I'll take it to 16 also. 16 is the right to livelihood. There has to be a balance between my right to conduct business, Article 19, and my right, the worker's right to livelihood. You see, these are very important things. The two cannot be in conflict.
Okay.
Both are in their own right.
Okay.
The law says that one cannot stamp out the other.
Okay.
So genuine restrictions, very meaningful restrictions can be imposed.
Okay. Sir, the next question is in regard of paying of gratuity, if the employee is engaged for 11 months period, whether the gratuity will be paid or not. because he has not completed year
One.
service.
You see, they have to look into the definition of 1 year. The law says 240 days is 1 year. In continuity, suppose it is 3.5 years, it means 4 years. 5.5 years means 6 years. 5 years and 6 months is 6 years. But in this case, 240 days is 1 year.
Okay, okay.
I think the question is, I think, majorly with respect to the fixed term employee. I think
Yes,
the
yes.
question is connected
Yes,
to the
right,
fixed term
right, right,
employee, where he is trying to clarify whether a fixed term employee engaged by a particular employer, if he kind of provide or he has an engaged with the company for 11 years, whether he is eligible for gratuity. The answer is no, because the rules specifically say that you have to have complete at least 12 months
12
to get
months.
the gratuity.
Yes,
11 months ineligible.
Okay.
right. I agree with that.
Okay. Does shops and establishment also cover to report accident? Means a big corporate office?
No, not earlier, but now, yes.
Okay.
You see, hotels and restaurants, this was missing completely. Very big vacuum which has been covered now.
Okay. Okay. Does doctrine of permanency and fixed term employment in labor code clash in judicial field?
No, 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 no. You see, again, go back to my reference just which I made just now. Right to livelihood was Article 16, where it has been deliberated by the Supreme Court on the disputes under Section 2A, termination, the loss of employment, termination from services. This
Okay.
has been discussed that right to livelihood, because of that, the worker used to challenge their termination and dismissal and retrenchment. That right to livelihood is a constitutional right. So they cannot be deprived of their right to livelihood for no reason.
Okay.
That is how retrenchments were challenged.
Okay. Sir, take water. Okay. So, sir, regarding OT wages, paid only if it exceed 48 hours, notwithstanding if a man works on OT beyond 8 hours per day for 3 days. And management may, in order to avoid giving OT beyond 48 hours by restricting it only for 3 or 4 days. Is this not amount to unfair labor practice?
No, again, I explained this at length during Mr. Nitesh's presentation, that people are misinterpreting the provision. As I said, the first convention of the International Labour Organization is 8 hours work, which was the outcome of the May Day agitation in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Once upon a time. The 8 hours work is a thumb rule. 48 hours per week, that comes to 48 hours a week. The 12 hours a day has been provided as a flexible measure for industries which need that kind of working.
Okay.
So if 48 hours means 4 days if they have worked for 8 hours a day. After that, any amount of work in that week will mean overtime at double the rate. Let me explain, please. Let me explain this double the rate also. Suppose the single rate is say 100 rupees per hour, 800 rupees per day. Then for the 9th hour, he'll be paid 200 extra.
Okay. Okay.
People are misinterpreting it that we'll pay him only 100 extra. Wrong. Double the rate means per hourly rate, double that for the every extra hour they have worked.
Okay.
And I have seen very prestigious industries paying at the wrong rate. Single overtime they are paying, which is wrong.
Okay.
People need to understand the basics that, there is a discussion in one of the Supreme Court judgments. So why do you give double the rate? What is the purpose of the law for providing double the rate? Number one, that we want to prevent workers from working at unhealthy hours of work, length of time.
Okay.
And number two, we want to discourage this kind of overworking to encourage more employment, so that the employers are discouraged to employ the same tired workers, overwork them, and instead of engaging new workers.
Okay.
That is a part of this is judgment of one of the Supreme Court rulings on overtime. Why
Okay.
do you need to double the wage, double the rate?
Sir, the same, in continuation to the same question, he's asking, adding to above, in a way, such restriction gives room for employer to extend working hours beyond 8 hours, oblique 48 hours week through backdoor method.
You see, locks are not meant for thieves. You provide the law, and that doesn't mean there will be no violation.
Okay.
A person who is going to do something wrong is going to do it. I'll give you a small example. When the wages were hiked in Delhi to a very high level, say 15,000 rupees, a contractor was caught on a routine checkup by the police, and he had 2,500 ATM cards in his possession. The police in this routine, they caught him for a different purpose, that there must be some bank fraud or something like that. But when he was grilled, interrogated, what came out, that man was a contractor, and he used to pay the workers as per the law, and then used all those ATM cards and withdrew all that money and gave the workers only cash, only 5 to 7,000, less than 10,000 rupees. Now, what will you comment on such a man who is running such a big business? That means he had more than 2,500 workers on his payroll, and he had grabbed their ATM cards and he was paying them on paper. He was paying 15,000 rupees per month, but was stealing that money from their ATM, from their bank account, and paying them cash only less than 10,000 rupees. This is a real case I'm telling you of Delhi. So how can the laws cannot prevent a person from acting as a criminal? Laws are for, you see, only to work as a deterrent.
Okay. Kindly throw light on social welfare legislation and labor code.
This social security is something very, very important which people did not understand till now. Till Corona lockdown, people did not know what is social security. People have now understood the difference between insurance and social security. Insurance you will get only when you die. But social security is on a regular base. There is some support system, say health, say small finance. During the lockdown, Corona lockdown, the government allowed the workers, members of PF, to withdraw money beyond the limits also. Somebody had to survive, run their family. What to do? Where to get that money? A poor man is, if he falls ill, he will die of the disease, or he'll die of taking money from the market. So how do you prevent that poor man from dying of any of these? Give him service in the ESI, give him treatment, free treatment. That's what is social security. Backup system. Say some room to be constructed, fees for education, expense for education of his children, expense for marriage of his children. Provident fund is a wonderful backup. This social security network is being extended to gig workers also. Imagine.
Okay. Okay. Sir,
Very, very important.
Yeah, I have few questions relating to the macro view. Do you see the 4 labor code merely as labor reforms or broader economic and governance reform for India?
Fantastic. Yes. These are a very broad approach to the socio-economic development of India and supporting the working population.
Okay. Okay. Do you think realistically become global manufacturing and service hub without modern labor governance?
No, not possible. You
Okay.
see, skills is a very, very important part which has been supported in these new labor codes.
Okay.
Skill development is something very, very important.
Okay.
Without that, you don't reach anywhere.
Okay.
And
Do you
now
think,
here is a law which is supporting skill development.
okay. Sir, do you think that cheap labor competitiveness or minimum wages concept is converted to productivity, workforce, and competitiveness?
No. Ultimately, employer has to create an environment. Minimum wage as such means nothing. That is only sustenance, survival.
Okay.
Please, those who are watching and are keen to understand this, please read Raptocos Brett and Company on minimum wages.
Hmm.
What does what does it mean? What is meaning of minimum wage? It's only sustenance.
Okay. Okay. Uh, Sir, how do you think that these reforms are long-term ambition of India becoming a US 10 trillion economy?
Oh yes, this is the first step to supporting the micro component, the working population to contribute to every part of the development of the economy.
Okay. Do you think industry concern are genuine regarding increase of PF, gratuity, wage restructuring, compliance costs, and how they should
You
think?
see, this is a mindset. As I said, we are not able to understand the difference between insurance and social security. After the corona mishap, this epidemic, we have started understanding what is social security in the first place. People dying of disease and nobody there to look at them. People dying of hunger. Can you imagine in the building and other construction workers, about in Haryana alone, there were about 6.5 lakh workers registered. And what is the amount distributed? 4,000 rupees per worker, registered worker. And an amount of more than 7 crores were distributed. Can you imagine that amount?
Okay.
This is called social security.
Hmm.
The employers need to be more sensible now to understand that if there is social security, the worker will stay with them. I'll give you a real example. In Chandigarh and Tri-City and Himachal also, a large number of hotels, restaurants, they closed down. And I advised them to pay off the workers and let them go home. And when I told them, okay, see, be honest with your provident fund deductions because these workers are going to come back. Can you imagine those employers who were fair with the workers, they got those skilled workers back. But
Hmm.
those who were not good employers and were doing hanky-panky with the provident fund accounts, workers did not come back to them. And they had a miserable time finding skilled workers. And you know, hotels and restaurants are very dependent on skills. So employers have to understand that the workers' loyalty will be there only and only if they are maintaining their workforce in psychological terms and material terms.
Okay. Sir, how do you think, because you have worked as a commissioner, that digital compliance does not become new form of digital license, Raj?
No. You see, here again, you have to be alive to your rights. The workers have to be alive to their rights and the employers have to be alive to their rights.
Okay.
It is a bottleneck. I can appreciate that the click of the mouse will become a bottleneck.
Hmm.
Application made online.
Okay.
Now, problem is I can tell you hard truth. The dashboards are there in every state government. But
Hmm.
who is looking at those dashboards?
Okay.
A very simple measure to understand this level, this problem.
Okay.
See the list of ease of doing business. Till
Okay.
2017, Haryana was number 2 or number 3 in ease of doing business. Now it is number 17. Why? Because the dashboard, nobody is watching the dashboard. And the mouse will click only when the officer is obliged.
Okay.
There is a element of misuse of this digital system.
Hmm.
There is a misuse.
Hmm.
But then employers have to raise their voice. Workers have to raise their voice.
Hmm.
And the governments have to be alive. Can you imagine Madhya Pradesh talking of ease of doing business? In their government ads, ease of doing business, they're talking about ease of doing business. To attract industry, they are talking about ease of doing business. What does it mean? That means they are implementing things. If the government implements this, then only industry will be attracted. Now there is a virtual competition between states to attract industry. And only if these facilities are made real will the industry come and participate in the development, economic development of the state. Otherwise, they'll not. See how Madhya Pradesh is coming up, see how UP is coming up. Because they are enforcing it. No mouse business. No digital trap bottlenecks. No digital bottlenecks should not be there. You are right. The whatever point you are pointing out, it's right.
Sir,
Very
for
good.
private limited company, what are the required legal compliance annual return which registration must be
Sorry,
completed?
which private what?
No, Nitish, you can give answer. It's a simple question. Private
Sir, it
limited company.
depends upon the number of employees. It
Uh-huh.
depends upon the number of workers, but the minimum requirement is first to take the registration on Shansuvidha portal or any other government as may be any other government portal as prescribed by the government. And you need to file returns, annual returns. You need to take the ESI, PF registration and kind of contribute towards those social security benefits to your workers.
Okay.
Let me make it a thumb rule. Registration, let me make it straight. Registration is one compliance. After that, wage returns. After that, PF returns, ESI returns. So simple. The rest of them are actually, because of the Occupational Safety Code, has become one. Under that is one registration and other facilities like transport workers or other contract workers. That all comes into one line, one topic, one head. So
Okay.
compliance is much easier.
Okay. Sir, how it is going to affect new startup with 10, 12 workers?
Because things are going to be very easy.
Okay.
Startups, they just have to register, put the workers online, finished. And nothing to do, I'm telling you. Going to be very, very easy. They don't have to run around seeking licenses and running around return दे दो साहब, ये ले लो साहब, Provident Fund दफ्तर नहीं जाना, ये ESI office नहीं जाना.
Okay. Sir, how much are penalty for non-compliance?
You see the stages. Non-compliance is, first stage is pointing out a deficiency.
Okay.
And the facilitator come inspector has to give sufficient time, 1 or 2 months, to comply. He will go and check complied or not complied. If not complied, then compounding of that penalty will be compounded by a authority notified for that purpose. He'll have to check again, third time.
Okay.
If not complied, the penalties are astronomical, I can tell you that.
Okay.
Including imprisonment. Very serious.
Sir, let's because time is and questions are there. So just you give yes and no answer, sir. So I will cover more questions, sir.
Okay.
Sir, if the employee resign on, this is the same question, but again I'm asking yes and no. You can say if the employee resign on exit before completing of contractual period, for example, in the 11 months before completing 1 year, he get gratuity or not? Please advise. You have mentioned.
No.
Okay.
No, he will not.
Okay. As per new code, 50% basic salary should given. It is on CTC or gross wage. Please advise.
First of all, CTC is the wrong concept. CTC is the accounting concept. Cost to company comes from the return on investment. CTC is a wrong concept. It is not recognized or mentioned anywhere in the labor codes.
So
Okay.
it must
Gross,
be from
yes.
the gross pay. It must be from the gross pay.
50% of gross.
Okay. How do we manage employee quitting without serving notice period? Can employer deduct notice period pay if the clause is there in the appointment letter, in which case full deduction from salary will need to be deducted? Can this be done? Also, the settlement has to be made within 2 working days.
Yes, the total salary can be deducted, and the clearing off has to be done within 2 working days.
Okay.
When it is very clear that he is left without notice,
Okay.
tick it off.
Okay.
Simply tick off.
Hmm.
Finish off within 2 days.
Okay.
Why more than that? When everything is electronic, everything is online, why it more than 2 days?
Okay. Sir, can the carry forward be more than 30 days now? Is it not HR allowed to give better than what the code provides?
I know companies which have settlements with the worker union that they will allow accumulation of 150 days. As I said, MNC is there in Chandigarh. It's a German company. They are allowing 150 days. I asked them, why do you do this?
Hmm.
We have 300 days of accumulation in the government. Why you are giving 150 days?
Hmm.
When the law says 30 days, why not 30 days with you? The union says, no, 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 we have a settlement, we will follow that only. So if
Okay.
the settlement is there or the terms and conditions of appointment already exist, you follow that.
Okay.
In case there is a blank, then you follow 30 days.
Okay.
You can carry forward only 30 days. Rest has to be paid off at the end of the year.
Okay. Sir, whether labor being a concurrent list entity number 22 creates possible federal conflict in implementation of labor code by states?
No, no, no. It has become a attraction for states to provide good working conditions to the industry and to the labor.
I think on the
There is no
hindsight,
conflict.
yes, in the
There is no
hindsight, there is a
conflict.
competition among the states whosoever better attract the investor,
Okay.
like the southern state.
Okay.
So, for example, we were in argument during the meetings of these committees for drafting of new labor codes, and we wanted to make 500 as the threshold for layout, permission for layout arrangement and closure, Chapter 5B. There was a strong opposition from the labor side.
Okay.
And when the Secretary Labor said, Mr. Malik, why doesn't Haryana come out with its own amendment? We came out with it. They approved it. We got the assent from the President of India.
Okay.
Rajasthan got it, Madhya Pradesh got it, Karnataka got it, Himachal got it, JNK got it.
Okay.
What's
Sir,
the problem?
suppose if a factory employee and workers are working for more than, I think this 48 hours, this has completed. I will not covering this. Following the notification of the central rules related to new labor code, should employer wait for the state rule to be notified as well as before implementing all the changes required in comply with the new labor code? For instance, all the registration are being made as per the old law in the Karnataka Labor Department. Minimum wages were notified last week for several schedules as per the Respect of Minimum Wages Act 1948. There is a lot of confusion and the department officials themselves are asking us to wait before paying gratuity or compute ESI as per the new definition of wages. Kindly throw some light.
Let me make one straight this thing that the law always is above the rules. So if the employer is implementing the new law, the state government cannot interfere with that implementation. It cannot be misinterpreted or denigrated that there is something wrong. No.
Okay. Okay.
There's one.
Law is above the rules.
There's one more
Rules are always
clarification.
subservient to the law.
Okay.
State government, oh sorry, central government has also
If the
clarified that.
FTE and FTC employee resign or exits
So we
before
answered it.
completion or its
We
contractual period. For example, in the 11th, I think this we have already.
We answered it.
Okay. Now, is the basis concept is still, sir, is the basic basis concept is still applicable?
Yes, it has been more defined now that it cannot be less than 50% of the gross.
Okay. Sir, I'm asking Nitesh and Anupam sir, very rapid down. One biggest opportunity in labor code.
Restructuring of wages and skill mapping for ensuring return on investment.
Okay. Nitesh, you?
The most important is the wage restructuring. How you restructure the wage.
Okay. One biggest implementation challenge, sir.
Digitalization of all compliances.
Okay. Nitesh, you also agree?
It's all about the implementation. Yes, sir is right.
Okay.
I'll give you an example here, just half a minute. Like, for example, in Haryana, we have digitalized many years ago. But there are employers who are still far behind. So now with the new law, it has become mandatory for everything. So they'll have to, now there's no way out. Everywhere, pan India, they have to do it. There were companies who were not digitalized somewhere else and they were digitalizing in Haryana. There was a problem. Now everybody has to do it. Pan India digitalization is necessary now.
Hmm.
No choice.
And also also the one aspect that Inspector Raj. So whosoever is kind of managing or occupying or kind of managing the affairs of the factory, they always kind of take the inspector very from a different impression. Now they have turned the definition, or they have kind of changed the nomenclature. They said that inspector come facilitator. The inspector and facilitator has to kind of act accordingly, so that nobody kind of have a fear of that inspector. So inspector come facilitator means he kind of conciliate if he finds anything wrong, or is anything gap in the compliances. They have to facilitate the employer so that it comes out in line with the code, rather than straight away
This is a big
divide the
breakthrough.
penalty.
Let me add here the big breakthrough.
Yeah.
You see, the actual picture is from the enforcement side. Enforcement officers are very nervous that their envelopes are gone because they cannot go for prosecution immediately.
Okay.
They
Sir,
cannot.
one reform is still missing.
Like,
Any reform which you think is missing?
no, only the completion of these gaps. For example,
Okay.
skill development.
So
Okay.
for me, the state government's rules.
Okay. One thing industry must do immediately, sir.
Industry must be, sorry,
One thing which industry must do immediately.
digitalization of their compliances.
Okay. Nitesh?
Yes,
Fast.
sir. Same.
Okay. One thing government must improve immediately.
Government
Monitoring
must
of the, you see, enforcement machinery.
Okay. Will
Online.
yeah.
digitalization of all their compliance mechanism.
Will
And monitoring.
labor code improve competitiveness in next 10 years?
Oh, drastically.
Okay.
Because the focus will shift to only skills and cost of skills.
Okay.
Activity.
The
Profit.
so I think, sir, we have received 31 questions, and I have received 20 questions. So 51 questions we have given answer. No doubt our webinars, which has we have done, it has clarified so many things. Earlier also you have given answer. Now before closing the session, I will just ask 30 seconds to close this point about this labor law, labor code. Nitesh, you please.
Sir, I think this is a good opportunity for the employer side, just to kind of to up their kind of internal controls. They have a very limited time now until the state rules are notified. So they have to change the internal control, how to kind of restructure their wages, how to kind of employment letters have to be provided. So there are so many new compliances which come into picture.
Okay.
They have to take care of all those compliances in a time-bound manner till the state rules are notified.
Sir, your point.
I want to congratulate you. Hearty congratulations for your initiatives and this 5th webinar and this big step of coming out with this book. You've done a wonderful job, Mr. Pawan.
Yes, sir. It's a combined effort. Your efforts, your input was very, very important, sir, for this. Sir, I think with this point, I want to close this session. And before this, I just want to say that I thank you, Anupam sir, Nitesh, and all participants. And today's session, we have demonstrated the 4 core laws and 29 things. And India is moving from fragmented to the integrated rules and more competitive, more things. Industry must do wage restructuring, that is one. PF and gratuity impact must check. Compliance cost must check. Portal readiness, they must keep it ready. And the implementation burden, if you are prepared then prepared mind can impact less compliance, and you can face very easily, and you can focus on more competitive. My view is that we have worked on minimum. Now the time has come. We must think on competitive, and productivity. Okay, so we have to make our labor skill. We have to make productive.
We add a word profitability.
Yeah, profitable, yes. And healthy labor, technology integrated labor, and socially secure labor, and the new generation labor, which is coming in the gig workers type. And so therefore, in my opinion, the success of this entire labor law, because so many things has merged, so many return has simplified, portal is launched. So true success will be measured whether productivity is improved. Now, my suggestion to industry, they must make a dashboard. Their productivity has improved after this, whether industrial dispute has reduced. Second, whether worker live with the dignity and greater independence, whether MSME can comply without fear, whether global investor can gain confidence that India is properly making social security system, whether India become a stronger manufacturing and serving hub, China plus one policy. At the same time, implementation will be the real test. If implementation become overcomplicated, portal heavy, inspector bureaucratic, then we will lose everything. Okay. So therefore, I'm just thinking that India is going true single window labor compliance, simplified and MSME friendly, productivity link. All these things will take new shape, and new labor law things will come. So at the last, my point is the labor code are not the end of labor reforms. They are the beginning of India's new workforce architecture, which presentation I have given, Anupam sir has given, and Nitesh has given. With this, we will see this, that if the entire thing is out of the state also, then we can focus and we can start another program after a month when the rules will be out, and we will compile it like this, what additional point the states are doing, and that way. So sir, I was saying we will redo the program when the state laws will also be there, and then that time we will focus on if something new has come or not.
Let me add something, please.
Yeah.
You see, you being at the hem of affairs and consulting so many companies, you must add one point to your agenda, that companies need to redo their financial planning.
Okay. That is most important, sir. That is most important. With this, I thank everyone, Anupam sir, Nitesh, and my all participants, and thank you for joining us. And friends, these presentation and everything will send it to all the participants. My only request is next webinar on 5th we are doing on CCI, that how the corporate India should know, because CCI is not a something which is more focused, more important and applicable to various corporates. It should not be surprise to you. So we'll meet again on 5th June at 4 o'clock. See you till then. Goodbye.
Great.